Hello, good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second panel discussion in our ongoing series on the Creative Economy Power Arts Convention here in beautiful St. Kitts. This convention celebrates the dynamic intersection of art, creativity, and economic innovation, bringing together thought leaders, creatives, and industry professionals to explore how we can harness the power of the arts to drive economic growth and cultural development. Today, we are honored to have with us two remarkable guests who have made significant contributions to the creative landscape, in Ms. Kenya Hill and Nisha Tweed. Kenya Hill, a multifaceted creative talent, first captured the public's attention as a model, but she has since expanded her influence and into acting, entrepreneurship, and advocacy for arts and education and empowerment. Kenya's journey reflects the power of reinvention in the creative economy, and her insights promise to inspire all of us looking on today. Joining her is Nisha Tweed, a seasoned storyteller and creative strategist with extensive experience in the advertising industry. As a thought leader in creative development, Nisha has helped shape narratives for some of the world's biggest brands. She brings a wealth of knowledge on the role of creativity in branding, marketing, and the broader cultural dialogue. Together, Kenya and Nisha will explore the dynamic opportunities and challenges within the creative economy and share their unique perspectives on how creativity can be a catalyst for both personal growth and economic transformation. We look forward to a lively, engaging discussion, so please join me in welcoming first Ms. Kenya Hill. Kenya, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Right. So, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to share bits of your insight based on lived experiences here with us. Can you start by giving us a little bit of your backstory? How did you first get into modeling? What's your origin story in that regard?
Yes, absolutely. Well, firstly, I'm so honored to be here. This is such a beautiful island. The hospitality has been next level, and I'm so excited to be in a place that is honoring creatives, because it is just as valuable or necessary as a career in any other lane, because they're still dreams, they're real, and so it's nice to be here. My passion for modeling came from lack of confidence, lack of social acceptance, and I was bullied really badly, unfortunately, in middle school, and it forced me to really look up to the most confident women, because I wasn't as confident, and that was supermodels. And so I really, before I even got into fashion, I just got into the idea that a woman could be so confident and not really care what other people think of them, and have a presence about them. And so I just really started to get into runway. And then this was middle school, and then I had a growth spurt, and I grew 3 inches in one summer, and I was like, oh, I think I can actually do this. And so, I actually had a full scholarship to a university in California. And my real passion, because I was so secretly into fashion, my passion was to really get into modeling. So in my freshman year of college, I auditioned for America's Next Top Model, and I didn't make it. I sent in a videotape and did not make it. And then that summer, I saw a commercial, and Tyra was, saying, we're doing a live audition, and if you think you have what it takes to come on down. And so I did that, and I guess the rest is history from there, I have been modeling now for 20 years. And I've traveled. I've done Paris, Milan, London Fashion Week, Miami, New York, Los Angeles Fashion Week. I've been in Vogue, Cosmopolitan, Marie Claire, I've done it. I've been doing this a long time. But yeah, that's pretty much where I am now.
Amazing. You've done it all in modeling, it seems. What was your family's response to you wanting to get full-time into modeling, and how long did it take them to, or were there any challenges at all in getting them to support that dream?
I had no challenges, really. My mother supported me so much, especially because I had such a low self-esteem. I just was blessed with a mother who created a very safe home life for me. So maybe in school, I maybe was not popular, but when I got home, I was loved. And my mom just poured so much into me. And she saw it before I even thought it was possible, like when I was really, really young. So I had a really amazing support system.
Going back a bit to your challenge with self-esteem issues, what was your thought process like going into the auditions for America's Next Top Model? You said you didn't make it the first time around, but you had the courage to try again. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it came from my passion. I would not have auditioned again if I really wasn't passionate about it. And also, I was ridiculed so badly for not being a really curvy girl, like a lot of the other girls were in high school. And so I thought, this is the only place I'm accepted. This is the only place where it's okay to be tall and thin. And so I felt like there was no other way. I had to try again. And I just used to get goosebumps when America's Next Top Model would come on. When the little song would come on, I would literally get goosebumps. And I never did it to be on TV. It was something in me that was like, I can do this. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. So it really was a God-given push. I can't even really take the credit for that, you know.
Okay, awesome. You mentioned that you've been doing this for over 20 years. What has been the biggest challenge that you've encountered navigating this space?
That's a wonderful question. I think the biggest challenge I have had is when I was more so just modeling before I started to mentor young ladies. It was more so dealing with the industry in the fact that there is not much space for Black women. And that's out of my control. This is before Instagram, so I can't just get a whole bunch of followers and then get a campaign. This is more so really another huge challenge was doing America's Next Top Model, thinking that was really going to do things for me. It gave me a lot of credibility, and my face is known worldwide. However, the modeling agencies viewed me as a reality star. So now I'm this Black reality star who is not quite a fresh face, and I don't have any real experience. My experience came from a TV show. So in the very beginning, it was fighting to even be seen as an equal.
And that brings me to my next question. You've been able to carve out a niche for yourself. Can you tell me a little bit about your personal branding journey, some of your secrets?
Ooh, juicy stuff, huh? So, I to be completely honest with you, I really cannot take credit for a lot of the things. When I look back in hindsight, and it almost makes me emotional now, when I look back on when I first created my first posing workshop, up to like all of the things that I've been able to accomplish now, it is God. So much of one of the biggest things is being able to turn your mess into a message for someone else. And that is so real, because all of the hardships that I went through, thank goodness I had the resilience to power through them and be able to directly coach other models. And so a big part of that, firstly, I'm so grateful for social media, because everyone has access to what I have to say, right? But I really do truly relate to the young women who come to work with me. I'm so much more than just a pose coach. I'm almost a therapist as well, and an educator in the sense that I'm informing these young ladies on topics that otherwise just are not common sense. No one knows how to really start a modeling career. You can't just go to a modeling university and then be on the cover of Vogue. It's like this one career that is highly sought after, but there is no clear path to achieving real success with it. And so I think a huge part of my branding is just me being authentic to myself and wanting to genuinely help others who have been in my same shoes with having no guidance.
Taking that into consideration, though, what are some of the things you think someone who is now trying to enter, someone who probably shared the passion that you had when you were just starting out, what are some of the things that you think they should know, or some things they should actively do or pursue to get recognized within this space?
Wonderful question. Firstly, you have to realize that it's a passion. It has to be a passion. You cannot get into modeling just because people find you attractive. There's so many attractive people on this planet, and then beauty is really truly in the eye of the beholder. So it's not even the same to everyone. And so you really have to be into self-expression and understanding that it's not even about you, because you have to be able to be malleable. You have to be able to mold and shift to what the designers want and what the designer's demographic is. And so you have to really understand what we're doing as models. We are a hanger. We are a blank canvas. So we can't come in with our personal preferences, with hairstyles and extra things that are personal preference when it comes to our appearance and our aesthetics. We really need to understand we need to be a blank canvas just to start. I think that's the best way to at least get recognized by the professionals.
Shifting gears just a bit, can you give some insight into your experience with navigating fame, given the fact that you're so much in the public eye? How do you remain grounded? How do you ignore the noise? Because with the advent of social media, the attention may not always be positive.
Oh, absolutely fabulous question. I did America's Next Top Model when there was no such thing as Instagram, no such thing as YouTube, none of these things. And I moved immediately from LA after doing America's Next Top Model to New York at 19 years old. And because there are just so many more people in New York, it was real true fame. I did not think that we would be famous. And even the producers told us before the show aired, you guys are going to be famous. And we're like, please, you're just telling us that so we can be excited. And it was true, moving to New York. And what keeps me grounded and humble, my mother for sure, helps me understand how to treat people. I've always seen my mother treat people really well, really, really well, and being genuine and being generous as well with your time and your energy. And so that has helped a lot, but also meeting some celebrities that you admire that don't really give anything back to you hurts. It sucks. It really sucks. And I've learned from that, from me meeting someone who I respect or I adore their craft or whatever the case may be, and them not being as receptive to my appreciation of them. And so that experience from a very early age made me say, I will always, always make sure that I'm being appreciative of someone even remembering that I was on this show, remembering my name, having the courage to come and say something to me and ask for a photo or whatever the case may be. And that has it just feels the best. It feels the best to me as a human, is to just be human back to them.
Awesome. What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew at the start of your career?
Where are you getting these questions, sis? They're so good. It really truly is to not care what other people think. Be self-affirming. What do I think? What do I think about what I'm wearing? What do I think about how the conversation went? What am I thinking in the past? Am I in the present moment? It's really understanding yourself and your mind. And I really wish that I would have gotten into meditation a lot sooner. Meditation has transformed my life and the way that I view myself and the way that the lens in which I look, through to the world. It's necessary to meditate every morning and to stand at the gate of your mind in the morning and to set the foundation for your day and to speak power and life into your day and yourself. And that's something that I didn't really have because I was bullied at such a young age. So I cared so much about what people were thinking and if they were accepting me, if they found me funny, if they found any, like, just so overly hard on myself. Also, I'm a Virgo, so it's embed. Yes, we'll talk later. But you already know we can be very hard on ourselves unnecessarily. And so I would have meditated a lot younger.
That's great. You mentioned a little early on in our discourse that attractive people, pretty people, are a dime a dozen. And you also shared a little bit about being bullied. At what point did you stop caring so much about what other people thought?
To be completely honest with you, I think we all care a little bit about what people think, which I think is healthy. But I probably stopped, I wish I could tell you it was 15, 20 years ago, but it wasn't. Honestly, when I started doing my coaching business, because it was through that I realized, oh my gosh, I know what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh, I've done this thing for 20 years without even realizing. I'm thinking this whole time I'm trying to like break into this machine. All the while, I'm logging, and especially as a Virgo, we're very analytical and observant. I'm logging everything about this industry subconsciously. And so that gave me a lot of confidence. And you have to have a certain level of confidence to get up on a stage and sell a ticket at a price, to sell anything. And so that really is where it was very true, like what you said in the beginning, through having your going into certain entrepreneurial ventures, you have to have a degree of not caring what other people are thinking and just trusting yourself and going through the process. So that's where it came from.
Given the high demand within your profession, within the space within which you operate, and how many more models, and then also the advent of social media makes it more accessible, you could see more of what people are doing, even behind the scenes. Have you been burdened with the need to remain relevant? Also, what are some of the things that you do to remain top of mind?
You really are. This is one of the best conversations. Really, really good. Because I have interviews with people often, and I just want to give you your flowers right now because you're asking me fresh new things that I haven't really been asked, and I appreciate it. Yeah. So I almost laughed when you said the word relevant because I don't think of how to be relevant. I just stay true to what God has blessed me with and what I think my purpose is and what I know my purpose is, rather. And those who want to learn what I have to share will be there. So whether the industry considers me relevant or not, I don't care. It is more so, these are the things that I know about this modeling industry that can help you so that you don't have to take as long to reach the success. And the only pressure that I would have in that arena is to, again, the Virgo thing is rearing its Virgo head. I'm such a perfectionist, and it's very hard for me to, what is the word? It is escaping me. To like allocate tasks to others. I kind of delegate. Come on now. It's hard for me to delegate these things that I'm so passionate about and would rather do. So content creation, I'm really, really good at it. It takes like an hour or two to create the best reel, to find the best clips of the best poses and the best moments between myself and a mentee. And it's very hard for me to allow someone else to do that because it's so personal to me. And so the only pressure really in terms of relevance, to answer your question, would be to like continuously be posting every day or every other day. To that, because that's just how we have to be consistent with social media.
What has been one of the highlights of your career to date? What's one thing that you're remarkably proud of?
I would say flying myself to Paris because I was told consistently by agents in New York that I'm too commercial, which is a whole nother can of worms, which I'd love to discuss with you for a bit if you want to. But always being told that I'm too commercial. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to go to Paris for Paris Fashion Week and see how commercial I am, because I'm 5'11", and I think I have unique features, and I want to see if I got what it takes for real. And so I went to Paris, went to one open casting, which happened to be a production house that had 10 designers, and not only did I book all the shows, but they asked me to teach the other models how to walk. So it's 2 checks. Not that it's about the money, but it helps.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a pretty big one.
So tell me a little bit about the challenges with being put in a box and categorized as commercial when obviously you wanted to do so much more.
This is something that I am so incredibly passionate about, and feel that I have to say something about this because no one notices this. But in the modeling industry, for women of color, as a woman who's from America, like Black Americans have slightly different features from direct African descent people, right, women. And it is that, the wording of that was awful, but you get what I'm saying, correct? Most of the American modeling agencies would consider Black American women to be too commercial. We're not like exotic enough. So they're really only hiring women from overseas to do the high fashion editorial jobs. And this is something that a lot of people, even people of color, don't notice. And we buy so much of the luxury high fashion stuff. And it is an area of, the world is evolving and changing, but that the modeling industry is one that absolutely needs to grow and evolve and keep up with the rest of the world, which is slowly becoming a little bit more body inclusive, a little bit. But in terms of true representation, it's, for me, I take it personally because there were so many jobs that I would get or auditions and castings that I would go to, and they just wouldn't consider it. They wouldn't tell me directly what it is. I'm like, why are you continuing to tell me that I'm too commercial? I meet the height requirement, I meet the size requirement, and I think I have unique facial features, which is what is required to do high fashion. And it was always such a battle, and for so many years, I always thought, I'm just not enough, when really it is some type of prejudice that is happening within the modeling industry. If you look at any of the models, they are only darker skinned, which is absolutely gorgeous, do not get me wrong, it's so stunning. Put some color on dark skin, forget about it. It's absolutely stunning. However, there are so many different shades of black. So many different shades and versions of black, and it's all beautiful. Why do we only see one on the runway? And so now that we're having this conversation, you won't be able to unsee this. Any of the big companies and brands have one particular look for black models. And so that's something I hope will change.
How hopeful are you that it will change, though?
It's not even, hope was for lack of better words. It was, I think, really just a cute little way to button that up. Because I'm not hoping for anything. I'm out here actively having conversations. I'm asking photographers. I'm talking to modeling agencies because I have relationships with these agencies now for my clients. And it's more so bringing awareness. Is bringing awareness. I had a conversation with a huge stylist. He styles big A-list celebrities. And I was telling him this, and even as a stylist who is pulling clothes directly from the showrooms, meeting the designers, did not realize that he himself, as a Black American, has not been represented in fashion. It's so much like, it's to the point where it's like, I think that we as Black people, we're just happy to see Black faces. that we don't realize that's really only one little sliver of us, you know? And so it's really just bringing awareness.
Back to giving tips. A big purpose of this Creative Power Arts Convention is to give insight into hopefuls, people who are hoping to venture into industries like yours. For the sake of this conversation, let's say I am, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, and like you, I have a passion for modeling, I have a passion for fashion. What do you think are some of the first steps, based on your lived experiences, that I should take towards achieving my dream, like you, of walking runways?
Firstly, I would say find out what your market is. What type of model are you? Look at all the advertisements that we have. Where do you see girls who look like you, that are your complexion, with your hair, with your close to your, like in your aesthetic wheelhouse of facial features? Find your lane. It's only 2 lanes, really. You're either going to be high fashion, editorial, very distinctive facial features, or commercial print, which is a little bit more warmer, friendlier, relatable, and inviting kind of facial features. That's a little warm and fluffy, okay, in terms of the mood. And so find out your lane, because that's where most models get it wrong. Everyone wants to do runway because it's the most glamorous, but it actually pays the least and has no longevity. So commercial print may be the way to go if you don't fit the height requirements. So I offer an amazing modeling course called Find Your Light, and I help people worldwide with the A to Z of what to do in order to start a successful modeling career. And it comes with mentorship, and so I would definitely take my course. I'm not just saying that to plug it. I wish I would have been able to take my own course. I would have taken my own course after America's Next Top Model, because no one helped me after the show. And so it's that first thing is, what is your lane? And then from there, you can kind of start to figure things out.
For the sake of argument, though, let's say the aesthetic that I fit might not be the lane that I necessarily want to go down. What advice would you give to someone like that?
Is to be realistic and have realistic expectations, and understanding that the modeling industry is an industry that unfortunately you don't have control over that. So if I am not meeting a height requirement, or let's not put it on height, because that's something that's also out of our control. You can't do anything about it. But let's just say I am addicted to my identity. I have adapted wigs to being a part of my identity. And in the modeling industry, they want you to be natural. You can't go to castings and stuff with wigs. That is a boundary or a requirement that is just how the industry is. Now, if I choose to still have that personal preference of going to castings and doing photo shoots with wigs on, whether they're good or not, because I've tried to get away with it, didn't work. It's at that point you're just being hard-headed. You are standing absolutely in your own way. There's some parts of the game that you just have to play. Yeah.
As we prepare to wrap up, as a model and now as a coach, what advice do you have for, again, newcomers or relative newcomers to your industry about maintaining weight? Because some might argue that there might be a fine line between eating healthy, working out to maintain the required size, and then it might be easy to fall off the other side. So how does one maintain balance in that regard?
Fantastic question. Firstly, it comes back to knowing your market. I have so many models who are not high fashion editorial by the industry standards. They're beautiful, but you maybe are not 5'9" and a size 0. And so you may be thinking that I'm trying to be a high fashion editorial model, having no industry knowledge that maybe you're more so a commercial print model, and you've conditioned yourself to, oh, I have to be skinny like the high fashion models. So if you know your lane, you know your lane, and then you don't even have to lose the weight. Commercial print doesn't have size requirements, no age requirements, no height requirements for the most part. And so for those girls who are high fashion editorial and are concerned with keeping that up, you have to take care of yourself. We are in a visual, creative industry. It's about visuals. And so we have to take care of ourselves, working out. Even if you're really slim, work out. Because you don't know if that, genetics are very funny, because you could easily think that I'm going to stay this skinny forever. And maybe it will be, you can eat whatever it is until it's going to be a day. It's going to be one day or 1 month, one summer, one good summer. You realize you're filling out a little bit. And so you definitely want to maintain that and just take care of yourself in general. Working out in general is amazing.
Some final question. Any words of advice or any final words to, again, people who are probably within the industry already or people who are considering venturing into the industry? Any final words that you'd like to share with them?
I would say 1,000,000% is to never, ever give up. If this is something that you are truly passionate about, surround yourself with other people that are doing it. Ask them questions. We are in the information age. There is no reason for anyone, modeling or not, there is no reason or excuse for you to not succeed at what you want to do, because there's already someone else who has achieved that, accomplished that, and is teaching you how to do it. And so you have to want to seek the information. You have to want to learn more about it. And if it's an industry like an entertainment, you have to really pursue it and eat, breathe, sleep that, because if it's not on the forefront of your mind, it's so easy to be distracted by a 9-to-5 job because you're getting checks. Nobody's going to come and remind you, knock on your door, hey, you have a modeling career you wanted to start, remember? No one is going to remind you of that. And the worst thing that could happen to you is truly when your dream is deferred, and the regret that some of the women have who come my way in their 30s and 40s, not even understanding that you can do commercial print until you're 80, but they come to me and say, I really regret that I didn't try to do modeling sooner. I've always wanted to do this, and I just never did. So that is a feeling that will never go away. You don't want to live with that for the rest of your life. So pursue your dream. Don't give up. Surround yourself with other people who do it, and believe in yourself.
Thank you very, very much, Kenya. Profound words to live by. Thank you so much again for sharing your insights within the industry with us. Up next, guys, we'll be shifting gears just a little bit as we engage with Nisha Tweed, a creative strategist.
Yep.
All right, so Nisha.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for agreeing to share a little bit of your lived experiences, your journey within the creative space. Can you tell me a bit about how that journey began?
Yes. Thank you for having me, first of all. I was born and raised here in St. Kitts, actually, and I was always told that I should be a lawyer because I love to negotiate, I love to debate, I love to talk, and that never was interesting to me. I was always into art and poetry and just any kind of creative expression, and I'm really fortunate that my parents said yes and, instead of saying go ahead and just, pursue academics and be a lawyer and whatever. They said, get your grades and you can do whatever else you want as well. And so when I moved to the States, I specifically went to study advertising because I knew that I was interested in marketing. I didn't really know what it was or how it worked, but I knew that that was the area where I could get the professional side of things and actually make money and still also be creative and pursue the artistic endeavors that I wanted. So, I mean, that's really how life played out, in that in every time I was trying to pursue anything academic or professional, I always looked for what is the creative expression in this.
As a creative strategist, you would have shaped stories that resonate with audiences for major brands. Can you share some of the key elements in this aspect of storytelling?
Yes. So I've worked on many global brands, Citi, Verizon. At my time at Facebook, I worked on almost every CPG brand that was out there. And it's interesting to see the consistency. The main thing you should always think about when you're representing a brand is what's in it for people. Everything I do, I approach it with what's in it for other people, what is the value that we're bringing, what is the thing that they're gonna get from it. Sometimes it's just delight, right? Sometimes you watch a video on Instagram and it just makes you smile, and that's enough, but you have to move with that level of purpose to have the creative be more than just creative. Now it has a purpose, it has value, and it's bringing something to people and doing something for the brand as well.
Tell me a little bit about your creative process, because I'm feeling the passion coming off you in waves listening to you speak. Like, how does it work for you? You're approached by a prospective client and they're saying to you, okay, this is what we want to do. This is where we're trying to go. Like, where do you go from there?
Okay, so my first question is always, who are we talking to? Because I center everything I do around people. I center it not just around what people want and what's good for them, but also what's going on with them. What's happening in their lives right now? Where does this brand, and any brand, it could be toilet paper, right? But what's happened in my life as a mother of 2 small children when it comes to toilet paper, right? You see? So I start thinking about, well, okay, who are we talking to? What's going on with them? What's happening in their world? And the value of working at someplace like Facebook and Instagram was that we had access to everybody on the platform. So I can actually look and experience and see and hear what are people happy about? What are they sad about? What's happening around this little experience around toilet paper? And then the next thing I ask is then, okay, well, what can we solve, right? We're solving a business problem, which, let's say the toilet paper company, they just want to sell toilet paper, right? So that's their problem. But what is the problem then we're solving for people? And then I just start throwing out ideas. And that's my favorite part. I just call it like a brain dump. I usually get a Post-it and I write an idea on each piece, put it up on a wall, and then I'm able to go back and start being like, okay, how do these things align? What is that Venn diagram that I'm getting to some cultural insight that is really meaningful to people? I'm looking at the business problem around driving sales for toilet paper, but also something fun and interesting as well.
In this extremely competitive and ever-evolving market, how could a brand go about creating campaigns or delivering messaging that helps to keep them relevant?
Yes. So relevance right now is currency, right? Like people talking about you, people knowing who you are, that is like number one for any brand, business, honestly, celebrity, or whatever it is, right? And so I'm glad that you asked that question. The 2 things you always have to think about is, who am I? What's important to me? What's important about my world? And how can I share that with other people and do so in a consistent way? And then also, again, what do people want and need? What's happening in their world, so that I could look at how who I am and what I'm doing connects back to that. And then we have just a million things to talk about.
Some people might say, or some people say, that there is no such thing as like bad press. But in cases where your message is not received in the way that you anticipated, or it falls flat, is crisis management or crisis communication activated there? Like, what's the response to things like that?
Great question. So a lot of times what we do when we work with brands is actually start thinking about, if so, then what? So if something does go wrong, what are we going to do? Right, exactly. So one of the things that we did, for instance, was working with creators. And we were encouraging brands to work with creators from underrepresented groups so that, of course, there could be more representation, more inclusion, all of those things. But what we were seeing is that sometimes the brands would just run the campaign. People would sometimes, say terrible things on the brand's page or go to the actual creator's page and say terrible things. And we felt that this was the brand's responsibility, right? You are putting this person on the platform behind your name, so what are you gonna do? So we actually created a 10-step plan around, okay, this is the first step, this is what we do, this is how we intervene. Are you gonna respond? Are you not? Are you gonna come up with something new? Are you not? The speed of social, honestly, people forget things very quickly. Things can run away very quickly, and you kind of have to manage, okay, is this something that might run away, or is this something that they might forget tomorrow? And then how do I still stay true to my audience and what they need and what they expect from me, which is sometimes an apology.
In navigating this space, how important or how closely do you monitor what is being done and put out by competitors? Or does it not have a lot?
All the time. Because the worst thing to happen is that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna wear a pink floral dress, and my competitor comes in a pink floral dress as well, right? Right, so we don't want us to be doing the same things. I want to see what you're doing so I could either respond to that, whether directly or indirectly, and so that I can think about, okay, well, if people are liking this type of thing, then what does that mean for me, and how do I one-up that, right? So you always be looking at what other people are doing, if not for inspiration, for you to figure out strategically how do you do something different.
We would have mentioned before that this market, this niche of the market that you're in, it's ever changing. How do you stay ahead of trends, and how do you adapt your strategies to ensure continued success?
I love that question because I used to feel really insecure about not understanding a piece of technology. Right, so when TikTok first came out, I was like, guys, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get this one. Right? And especially the older you get, the more you're like, okay, I figured out this thing and I don't want to do this other thing. And the key learning is not about the technology, it's about understanding the thinking behind the technology. Because at the end of the day, it's all about humans, and it's all about, okay, well, what is the problem this is going to solve? How is this connected to basic human needs? How is it connected to creativity? So I got asked to work on a project for St. Jude, which is a children's hospital in the States. And it was with the VR headsets, the MetaQuest VR headsets. I had never used a headset before. And I was just like, oh, I don't think I'm the best person for this project because I don't have expertise in this area. And my manager was just like, you have expertise in creativity, and that is all you need here, right? And so that is what keeps me into now. I'll try anything because I could figure out something because I'm a creative person.
In a world where storytelling is crucial, what are some strategies you think emerging talent, emerging creatives should employ to get noticed?
Have a content strategy, right? So actually think about who am I and what do I stand for? What is my audience? What do they need? And then how do I take maybe 3 to 5 things and have those be the things that I'm constantly talking about? People are going to come back to you because you're talking about those things. They're going to want to hear what's next. They're going to feel connected to it. They're going to know what to expect. But you really have to be strategic and say, okay, my 3 things, let's say, is that I'm a Virgo and my favorite color is purple and I'm weirdly now allergic to fish. And I'm just gonna, today I'm gonna talk about, look at my beautiful purple dress. And then maybe tomorrow I'll talk about the fish allergy and how it's confounding. And, but people know then if you have a fish allergy one day, you'll be like, oh, let me go talk to that girl who likes purple because she's always talking about the fish allergy too, right? So just be strategic.
In this era in which we live, it's said that content is king. Taking into consideration what you do, What are some of the things that draws you to our pages beyond what you just described about like finding niches and staying within there to constantly create content? What else do you look for, or what else would you find appealing? Let's say on TikTok, what kind of content would keep you coming back for more?
That's a great question, and I don't think that I'm the best person to answer that question because I like what I like. So for my personal viewing on social media, I like parents complaining about their children. It's my favorite genre of parenting stuff. I like people making fun of other influencers and creators. So currently, anything that makes fun of Nara Smith, I'll watch it 12 times. Right? And I like things that are short and that have text on them because I usually don't have sound on. So automatically, if I see something that is 30 seconds, 45 seconds, I'm not going to watch it. And if I have to turn my sound on, I likely won't watch it.
How important is it for creators to be authentic? Or are you of the belief that someone or a creative could probably have an on-screen persona that is totally separate and apart from who they are in real life? And can audiences tell? Like, what's your opinion on that?
Those are two questions. And for the first one, I will say that the same way content is king, authenticity is queen. Right? We have to feel like you are a real person and that I'm getting a part of you. I don't expect the whole of you, which will answer my second question, but I have to feel like this is a realistic thing. If you remember a couple of years ago, Kim Kardashian did maybe it was like Impossible Burger ad or something. And throughout the entire ad, she never ate the actual burger. That's what people remember from that, right? And that's inauthentic. If you then go watch Lupita and on Hot Ones, which is a very different thing, but you see her on Hot Ones and the drama in her face was real, right? So it's a very different kind of thing when I can tell you're being who you actually are. And then the persona, I actually don't think everybody should have access to all of you. Nobody should have access to all of you, and especially not a bunch of strangers on social media. Right? So it's okay for you to say that when the camera goes on, I'm me times 12. And then when I'm at home, I'm this way. I personally truly believe in being vulnerable. I've seen that be the secret sauce for me to bring connection with people. But for other people, it might be humor. For someone else, it might be sharing information. So it's you figuring out what that thing is. You'll hear me be very vulnerable and talk about, these are the things that are hard for me, this is what I'm struggling with, and this is how I overcame this. But that might not be what's right for you, right? Maybe that's not what people expect from you. So you kind of need to figure out then what is your voice, what is your tone, and then how do you keep going with that and stay true to that.
On the issue of overcoming, what are some of the major challenges that you would have encountered during your journey navigating this space, and how did you overcome it?
Jesus. Should we start with racism or sexism, general oppression, or? Okay, yeah. Well, so the field that I'm in as a creative and specifically as a copywriter, there's very, very few Black people. There's very few Black people in leadership as well. So it's not even the kind of thing where you're like, oh, I have somebody to look up to. I know what that path is. I know what it looks like for me to be in this space. It's crazy in 2024. We are forging still so many firsts in advertising when it comes to Black people. And then on the other side of it, it's not just the racism that you experience internally from your team members, not getting the same opportunities, not getting the same credit, not getting the same benefit of the doubt even, but also you look at the executions of the work, you're like, oh, that's not representing Black people correctly, or you're making money off of our trauma, or different things like that. And so where do you sit in that situation to say or not say something? I have specifically made it my mission to work against that. And all of the work that I've done, every single job that I've been at has been not only to change the way the team was creating the work so that it is more inclusive, but also to change the organization. Because if Black people don't want to come into those spaces, then what are we going to create? Black culture is leading all creativity right now. Black culture is, you look on any social media platform, and we did studies. I can't tell you the numbers, but it did studies. Black and Hispanic people are number one in almost all the platforms. So we need to be number one in all of those rooms that are creating the things for that stuff. So to overcome, I think the big thing for me was to not just think about it as, oh, this was my problem, and this is something about me, and to actually think about like, oh, this is systemic. So what is the systemic change that needs to happen, right? So if you had a hard time hiring me, and people would be like, oh, we don't see the Black people, we don't know where they are. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, are they on a spaceship someplace? Like, I know a lot of Black people, I know where they are. Okay, so then what do you need to do differently? Right? Where else do you need to go? How can I bring more people to you? What am I going to do to actually change the process in these companies so that the actual change will happen for people who come after me? I'm always like, I should not be the only one to go through this. I'm always like, I should be the only one to go through this, and I want to be the last one, so I'll come up with a solution.
How does one get to where you are in your career right now? Let's say we're talking to young people here in St. Kitts and Nevis who might be wanting to chart the course that you are currently on. Like, how do we get there?
So you need a portfolio to work in most ad agencies. You need to have some example of, this is the kind of thing that I can do. This is how I create, this is how I think, these are the skills that I have. It's an actual craft, so actually being able to show that is really valuable. That's number one. Number two is get yourself out there. Don't be shy. Being in this space is full of rejection all day, every day. It's full of self-doubt all day, every day, and you kind of have to work beyond that. You have to push beyond that. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere. So really being brave, putting yourself out there, and getting back up. You know that saying, you fall down 7 times, you get up 8? That's like my motto.
How do you envision the future of the creative economy contributing to the overall economy here in St. Kitts and Nevis and further afield, and what role do you see yourself playing in it?
Such a good question. I love that St. Kitts is at this nascent space where it comes to defining what creativity means and looks like for us as a people, and then how do we take that and expand that outside of this space. I think that there's so much potential. Caribbean people are the most creative people, right? If you think about just Palau, like whose idea was to put all those things together, right? You think about the food, you think about the music, it's ripe of invention and innovation. But we don't know what to do with it next. And so what I would like to see is more infrastructure around education, around access, around opportunities for people to say, hey, I'm a creative person, what can I do with this energy? Where can I take that? And then how do we elevate it, polish it, and then say, let's show everybody it.
During the opening ceremony, Minister Samal Duggins would have drawn reference to his own experience, commenting on the fact that his parents were not initially supportive of his dream. What would you say to parents here in the Caribbean? Because unfortunately, that experience is not unique to him, because a lot of our parents still believe that for you to be categorized as successful, you have to pursue careers like lawyers, doctors, teachers. Creativity or the creative realm is still frowned upon as it relates to being called a proper profession. What would you say to parents here in the Caribbean about that?
Mark Zuckerberg did not graduate from college. Kanye West did not graduate from college. So the academic success does not equal professional success. Right? If you have a God-given talent, and you have the audacity and the determination to actually share that with the world, then you're already halfway there. Don't discourage, and I mean, if they're not great, then let's talk about it, right? Like I tell my kids, I don't put their stuff up on the refrigerator unless it's good. Any art they bring home, if it's just some scribbles, I'm like, that's very cute, thank you for showing me, and I'll put it back down. but if it's good, and I have art that I framed for my children because it's good, right? So you encourage, when it's good, push for that, pursue that, right? But don't look at just the academics. Again, my parents were yes and. You go ahead and come first in class, and you can go ahead and do all of these other things. You can dance, you can run, you can skip. But really and truly, like, just get your children to feel confident and competent in their abilities around any kind of creative endeavor, and they're gonna be set up for success.
Can you share or have you observed any shifts in trends within the creative sector? And are you able to share a few of those?
Ooh, that's such a big one right now is actually around influencers making fun of themselves. I love it. There was a period of time where it was like around de-influencing and saying like, oh no, don't buy these products, we don't like these things, don't shop at these brands, whatever it is. And now this idea of people understanding that we're not infallible, we're real people, and we have a different language amongst ourselves. And so, you know, seeing them talk to each other, talk about each other, reference each other is really beautiful. And I think that's a really cool space to see, and for me as an outsider to observe.
You've already experienced immense success within your field. Like, what's next for you?
Good question. I realized that in order for me to actually make the shifts that I want to make in the industry, I can't do it fully inside of it. So I have taken a role tangential where I'm now working with ad agencies and marketers to help them figure out how do we change our process so that we could change the final product so the work is actually going to be more reflective of culture. So that's, and then of course coaching people, because like I said, there's not a lot of us out there, and you don't have a lot of access to mentors that look like you or that have the same experiences as you. So I make myself available as much as possible to help other Black creative professionals navigate their path, feel the confidence that they need to feel in their ability to accomplish and to rise up.
Awesome. As we prepare to wrap up, you already spoke to the parents of creatives. Any words or message you want to share with creatives here in St. Kitts and Nevis and across the Caribbean?
Yes. Can I curse? Just make shit. Just make shit, right? I think at the end of the day, don't be too precious about how are people going to like it or how are people going to think about it, what are people going to say. That is stifling creativity, right? That's the antithesis of creativity, worrying about other people. If you're just thinking, this is something that I think is beautiful, it's fun, I'm just trying something out, the more you do it, the better you're gonna get at it. And then you can actually take it somewhere. So I think we often limit ourselves too soon. We edit ourselves too much, and we're too busy thinking about what feedback we might get instead of just saying, hey, let me put something out there and see what happens. A lot of times when I create content, I'm creating it for myself. I'm the audience. I'm like, oh, do you find this funny? Is this relatable? Is this helpful? Then let's go, girl. Otherwise, I'm grateful for other people enjoying and experiencing it, but I can't let that be my only motivation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nisha.
Thank you.
And also thank you to Kenya, who chatted with us earlier about her experience within modeling. Be reminded to our viewers online that both Nisha and Kenya and our other facilitators are hosting lectures and masterclasses throughout the duration of this week. Thank you so much, ladies and gents, for watching. I will see you guys later today when the conversations on the creative economy continues.